Let's get severed, part 2. It's like an old news broadcast or something.
So you heard that one?
Yeah, heard it. Saw it.
Well, hello. This is Drew, here with my two-take twin.
Triple T!
My little sister, Ashley. Hello.
Hey. Hi.
How's it going?
Super.
Cool. Well, you are listening to New Release, a TV podcast, a YouTube channel. Where, Ashley?
Each week we watch something new-ish and then decide if we want more.
No, remember? You don't remember the whole new branding discussion? That's not our tagline anymore.
No, I don't. It's like each week we watch something when we want to watch it, and if it's good, we talk about it.
Where we make our favorite TV shows feel special. It's going to catch on, I promise.
It sounds like a Mr. Rogers, like PBS thing, but sure. I like it.
Yeah. It's got like a slight double meaning, you know? We make
Double
we make
rainbow.
it feel special to listen to, but also we're making them feel good about themselves.
Oh, who's them?
The TV shows.
Oh, okay. They have feelings. You're right.
Yeah. Episode number 246. Prime or not prime?
Divisible.
By?
Not prime.
A million things.
Yeah. 2, 4, 6, 8.
There you go. We appreciate TV. All right. Well, we are talking about Severance again this week. We're going to do a deep dive into not just episodes 3 and 4, but those are the two most recent episodes since we left off last week or last time. The non-weekly thing is going to throw us, but bi-weekly is also a common cadence. So we have 2 new episodes to talk about, but we're going to kind of I have a range of 8 topics.
Ooh, okay.
You
Perfect.
read a whole book.
Yep, we'll listen to.
Yeah. What's the name of the book?
The You and Me and You We Know? I don't know.
Okay, well, it's the self-help book that the character from the show wrote. Apple actually released it, released an audiobook of it in a regular book too, maybe. But you listened to the audiobook for it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went for a nice little walk.
So Mark S.'s sister is married to this guru, kind of doofus type, and he has a book in the show that they want the Innie, and then they approach him to rewrite it for Innies because they have a limited access to culture and literature. So this is a very meaningful book to them if it's the only book you've ever read.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
I can't-
and the fact that they have to change the language slightly for the Innies to to better
Brainwash
follow,
them.
I guess, or
Well, they're
Grab onto.
brainwashing them in many ways at all times. So I assume that's what they're doing. But I can't wait eventually to hear your thoughts on that. Let's, I guess, just jump right into our discussion for Severance. Here we go.
Woo.
All right. Yeah. So, like I said, we've got 2 new episodes. Episode 3 was what I'm calling Goats.
Yeah,
Broadly.
that's a good call.
I got to keep the titles short, our episode titles, because they fit better on the cover art that way. So
Okay, perfect. One word
I'm not
only.
calling it Mamelia's Garden or whatever they say.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot.
Even though that's fun language. And then episode 4, I'm calling ORTBO, which stands for, Ashley?
Outdoor recreation, something retreat, something.
You get some of the words in some of the right order. Outdoor recreational team building occurrence.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. ORTBO. Everybody knows an ORTBO.
Rolls off the tongue.
I'm sort of on an ORTBO of my own right now in Salina, Kansas, in case you can't tell from my background. I'm not in my normal plant-filled living room, but I'm in a much more gray and beige
Yeah.
hotel room, and I am joining the Land Institute
Woo-woo.
for their prairie camp, which is their team building ORTBO.
Cute.
Yeah,
Prairie
so-
camp? That's cute.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So it's actually been really interesting. They do perennial agriculture. I'll explain it to you at some point. This isn't SpawnCon, so they're not paying us to talk about them, but it is really cool what they do. So I'm repping their logo.
Let's see, your head looks kind of like it's floating a little bit. Is that like an extra large hoodie?
It is double X.
Yeah.
2X.
It looks pretty big.
Yeah,
cute,
and
but pretty
it's
big.
all brown. I have brown corduroy pants, a brown hoodie, and a brown suede jacket. So
Oh, nice.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm of the land,
Blending right in.
and I'm on
On a brown couch or a chair.
soil colored.
Perfect.
Okay, well, one place I wanted to start, because it's pretty obvious where every episode starts, is the intro sequence for the show. So I've cut out like a 40-second clip of it that we can watch. But before I do that, are you picturing in your head the title sequence?
I rewatched it because I've only seen the title sequence maybe twice, but I watched it I think last week. So because I wanted to see the whole thing through.
It was interesting. I'm pretty sure for episode 1 they didn't play it. Episode
Okay,
1
yeah.
of season 2. They just jumped
It's pretty
right
long.
in. It is long, and I haven't dissected it. I'm sure people on the internet have.
I bet.
When we say deep dive, this is not Reddit deep dive. This is our own version of a semi deep dive, a medium deep dive.
A light brushing.
But even watching it only a handful of times and rewatching it a little bit, it seems like stuffed with clues about the show,
Yeah.
about the plot, little Easter eggs. You know how Game of Thrones changed parts of their title sequence every week to relate to the content a little bit?
I didn't watch it, so no.
Okay, so you have no idea. Well, they would put little Easter eggs about they would show the map of Westeros, and they would choose which different parts of the map
Oh, that's
to show in the intro based on where they were going to go in this expansive show. In this case, I don't know that they're not changing it, but they did change it from season 1 to season 2, and season 2 seems to have foreshadowing in it.
Ooh, okay.
So here we go. We'll watch a little bit of that and then talk about it more. Thank you, Apple TV Plus. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think about the intro?
I mean, it's incredible, but
The style,
it's,
yeah.
I think, is it claymation?
Yeah, it's probably computer generated claymation. I doubt they did it all by hand. Well, I mean, I don't know. That would be a good thing to look into as well.
Like stop motion.
Yeah. If we were still doing Rank the Blank, back in the day, we could rank our favorite title sequences. Remember when
Dexter.
Showtime? Yeah, exactly. That's the one I was going to bring up.
Yeah, done. That one's incredible. Oh, which reminds me of which you haven't seen, but Bad Sisters also has a really elaborate sequence of it's one of those things where you drop the ball, it hits over a pin, something else happens, and it keeps going. You know, like a maze kind of thing with dominoes falling and stuff. But it's super elaborate, and each season's a different one.
It's called a Rube Goldfarb or a Rube something.
Goldfarb, maybe.
It doesn't sound exactly right. But yeah, anyway, that kind of mousetrap sequence.
Yep. But yeah, this one would rank really high. Although I have only seen it, the 1 or 2 times all the way through because it's so long. It's got a lot going on in there. A lot of clues. Does it make you want to do you rewatch it every time now?
Yeah, I do. The goal, at the most fundamental level, the goal of a title sequence is to get you immediately set the tone and get you immersed in the world of the show. Obviously, the music goes a long way. Now that I'm thinking about it, one of my favorites and teaser for our next episode of New Release, White Lotus. White Lotus season 2 with the classical music playing and the I don't know, creepy art that starts turning more and more sexual as it goes on. Yeah, I loved just kind of that immediately captured the dark comedic tone of White Lotus. And for this, I don't know that the sequence, I guess the surrealness of it captures kind of some of the comedy or some of the dark humor.
No, I don't think so. Not really.
But no, it's mostly just creepy. That's what I was
it's very creepy. But the show edges on creepy the entire time. So
especially episode 4. So I don't know how much we want to bounce around. And episode 4 is much fresher in my mind. I actually just watched it.
I just finished it too.
Oh, nice. But episode 3, I'd say the biggest thing that happens in that episode, aside from finding the goat room, and we'll talk about potentially what is up with the goats.
I like them looking at their bellies. That was like the funniest. I was like, they don't have a pouch. I told you.
Yeah, there's more humor in episode 3, just in this typical Succession or Severance, kind of like ridiculous dialogue and just ridiculous, absurd circumstances that these characters are in. But so at the end of episode 3, Mark reintegrates.
Yeah.
And what do you think? I mean, so what's weird is we go straight from that cliffhanger of him reintegrating to this. He's not back at the office, so it'd be interesting to see him reintegrated in a place we're familiar with, but he's reintegrated in a place that's totally new to everyone.
Yeah.
So we don't really get kind of the same, like, okay, well, what is Audi Mark? How is Audi Mark different? Because he's reacting to a foreign territory.
I have a question.
Yeah,
I
go for
missed, obviously, the first season. So when they reintegrate, does that mean that the Audi Mark knows what the Any Mark has been doing? Like, he knows everything? Or does that mean... What does that mean?
It's just reversing the procedure, as far as I understand it. So, I don't know that... It did seem like he kind of got, like, a flashback of a lot of what had happened to Any Mark. So, in some sense, he is maybe catching up to what Any Mark has been experiencing. But going forward, they're just one person now.
Okay, so when he goes back into the elevator, he'll be the same.
Yeah. I mean, it's what Helly has been doing. And there's a lot of tension in episode 4 around...
Oh, just a little.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. What do you think about Mark's decision to reintegrate?
I mean, he wants to figure out what happened to his wife, so he's doing it for love.
Well, he's got some
but he
competing
also has
love interests now too.
Yeah, so now he's 2 love interests. He's very selfish. No, I think it's interesting, but I guess I wouldn't want someone tampering with my brain again. I don't know.
Well, yeah, the procedure was pretty experimental.
yeah, that was stressful. And then she's done it before, right? And she killed someone doing it.
Yeah, so there's this dude, Petey, in season 1, who is basically trying to clue Mark into some dark secrets about Lumen, and he's the only person who's kind of experienced both Any and Outie life, as far as we know at that point, or reintegrated. And so this woman that kind of finds Mark trying to experimentally send messages, like burn messages onto his retinas.
Yeah.
And she's like, there's a better way, there's the only way, and that's to reintegrate. And she's like, are you up for it? And he's just like, yep.
Yeah.
He doesn't really feel like he has anything to lose, I guess, because he's already grief-stricken, and his whole life is consumed by that on the outside. His outside life sucks. That's why he's severed in the first place. He almost has more to lose, isn't any, but he doesn't. His Outie doesn't know that. Yeah. So, or at least, like, in some ways, his Any life seems more fulfilling than his Outie life.
So he's severed. And he created his Any, but now his Any and Outie are one, but his Any still floating around working, but won't return home?
Well, we don't...
Like, are they separate people at this point, or no?
No, they've never been separate people. I mean, like, not physically.
Except for the clones in 4, which was like, what?
Yeah. Very weird. Well, the claymation sort of, like, out of the intro sequence.
And they just, like, creepily point.
Yeah. Well, everyone needs a twin, like I said.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
Okay,
when
so
that has their eye pop out and pus seep out, and then they turn into moss or whatever, or masturbate.
yeah, that was really weird. Yeah,
There was
like
humor in 4. See,
yeah. Well, my
Ellie has
favorite.
a good time.
Before I get into this, because I do like a little humorous line I thought was really funny in episode 4 because there wasn't a lot of humor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Mark is just to clarify,
Mm-hmm.
he now can go in between the innie and the outie world, but he has recollection of both.
Yeah.
If this
So like,
worked.
yes, it.
Okay.
I think we have every reason to believe it worked, and again, that's why episode 4 is interesting, because rather than him going down the elevator and going to work, they all wake up in this frozen forest. And so now it's basically Helly is already actually Helena. She's already her outie. So she's not really like having this
So
experience.
where's her innie?
These aren't they're it's one person.
Sorry, I know, but I mean, like, where's she's just
You're just an innie when you're severed.
But her
But
outie
she
is
doesn't have an innie. She's just
So it's just
one
an outie.
person. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She's an outie who's going innie.
But she at one point was an innie. And an
Yeah.
outie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
So that's why he was saying she was so cruel, because she was a
Yeah.
different person. Okay.
yeah.
got
So
it.
Irving figures out basically pretty quickly and pretty cleverly
Night
that
gardener.
yeah, basically when people when they're asking each other about what they experienced in their brief brief outie integration, he can tell immediately that she's lying, because she's like, "Oh, I saw a gardener," and he's like, "A night gardener?"
Wearing a vest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your
Gardener.
humorous line?
Oh, marshmallows are team players.
Yeah. You just love milkshake.
He's great. He's just great. His delivery's so good. You're right. I do love milkshake.
Seth milkshake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So part of the ORTBO is getting luxury meats, having a campfire, somebody playing the theremin. Not somebody, the little girl, Miss Wong.
Miss Wong,
and him reading the story of Dieter Egan, who is Keir Egan's twin, who wanted to be a pauper person or something.
He would be one with the woods, basically. He just wanted to live in
Yeah, until pus poppered his eye right out of the socket.
Poppered his eye. Yeah, that was so graphic, but like comic. It was weird. I don't know. I felt uncomfortable, but I also was really into it.
Yeah, and then Helly makes, she knows the stories are bullshit because she is part of the family, for one,
Right.
and so she just starts cracking up, and that's why the marshmallows get thrown into the fire, because they're not team players, and they're making fun of the totemic, or the lore of the family, and Milkshake's not going to stand for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I let me see what else. Did you read any? You haven't read any theories or come up with any?
I'm trying not to. I don't really want. And I don't. So the more you watch it, do you have more questions or less questions? Like, are some of your questions getting answered? Because I'm just getting more and more questions in my head, and I'm like, is it because I missed the first season, or is it because it's this like?
I would actually say they're pretty clearly leading to some answers in my mind, and yeah, I think you're just playing catch up. So I sent you the waffle party clip. Did you watch that?
No.
Well, a waffle party is when you get a waffle, but you also get these sexy dancers with scary masks on. One of them being a goat mask. So Dylan gets a waffle party in season 1, and it's intercut with what's the lady that was the boss? What's her name?
Oh. Arquette. I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, she is. It's intercut with her kind of like going through this collection of stuff about Marquez, but also this breathing tube. So, and then you see the breathing tube in her car when she's trying to drive out of town. I mean, they do keep introducing new questions like, where the hell are they? And can they leave? You know, is this like a Truman Show type setting? Is there worlds within worlds? But they are calling back to things from season 1 for sure. And she clearly has like family, she's invested in the project probably for very personal reasons, like maybe bringing back a member of her family or something similar to Mark. You know, the big question is some of the big questions are what happened to Mark's wife, and I think we will get an answer to that. And then for me, the theories are like bigger than plot questions. They're like, what world are we existing in? That's kind of what I what I mean by theory. Yeah.
Okay. Well, my question is, which is more, I guess, plot based, but do you think that the Innies even exist, like that world exists, like the offices and stuff? Or they're just like going comatose for like 8 hours and not working, and then they're like zapped back into their...
Yeah, it's just like a metaverse.
Yeah, like it doesn't... Because it seems weird that that place that they were at, I don't know, it's just obviously is very... Like they have the cubicles randomly placed somewhere, and they have all the stuff that's like they're playing with their mind.
That was so
real.
Irving falls asleep in the forest and I just interpreted that as a dream sequence within this real, probably.
But then having like the TV set
forest.
up, plugged into nothing, playing his like all of that stuff.
No, I think that what this show runs the risk of, it could be a good or a bad thing, is like not really being invested in real outcomes if everything is a simulation or something.
Right.
And I do think that is, I think that rises to the level of like global theory in terms of like what are in the show is real and what is just, you know, simulated. So this whole ORTBO occurrence could just be in their heads, but it also Milkshake is there, and like I don't know, I'm choosing to take all that at face value in terms of like this family does have this you know, they're super powerful, they do own this property, and they just took them out to like why they just wake up there, you know, how are they knocked out? Obviously they have like triggers in their brain, including in Helly's, that they can just remotely like basically trigger whether they're conscious or not.
And they're not affected by the cold at all, so that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they are not affected as much as they should be. They're wearing heavy clothes, but Irving...
Like they're breathing, there's no like noticeable breath or anything at night, or... He's like, yeah, I almost froze to death, but he looks normal. Like, he doesn't look like he had any type of damage, so...
Yeah, I think you're bringing up a really interesting point. I don't know if the show has made it clear if that's just kind of like... If you're supposed to read into it like you are, or those are just like... continuity errors or oversights or limits of the production.
I doubt that's... I feel like the show's so good that it's on purpose.
Yeah. So if it is all on purpose, then what do you think is going on? I mean, like, you think it's just a simulation?
I don't want it to be, but I think it is.
Yeah. And then what's the point of... Is that just the easiest way to get them... Are they working on a real project, though?
I think maybe the retreat is a simulation, like that everything's a simulation.
Yeah.
So like they can be in the office, they can be doing like cubicle work and whatever, but I feel like certain things are like created in their brains to make them think that other things are happening when they're not.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, it would make sense like that there is a real Lumen office and they have they could have a severed floor. Like all that could be actually existing in the physical real world. But do you think we don't know where this real world is even placed on the global geography? I mean, they speak English. That's one clue. But it feels almost like a form like a remote tundra or something.
Yeah. Like
So
yeah.
Miss Corbell, that's her name. She's
Nice.
trying to drive to Salt Neck, I think it's called, and she's like
Yeah.
200 miles away. She drives all night, is 200 miles away from the next city, and then she turns back around.
Maybe she's in Alaska.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, one kind of there's only one theory I've kind of heard that I wanted to talk about. I don't think it really spoils anything. It's
Okay.
basically like an alternate history where just using like something like the Civil War as an analogy, where the other side won, and
Oh.
and because we have all these weird race dynamics, and so the Keir family, maybe the other side won, but there were some obviously there's going to be some unintended consequences because it's probably not great to perpetuate slavery and things like that. So
Yeah.
maybe there's actually like a scarcity of resources and like little waffle parties and things, that these little treats that they get are because these resources are actually pretty scarce, and even for rich people. Somebody pointed out, or something I was listening to pointed out, that even when you see the like rich people on the outside, they're not really living that lavish of lives. The cars and the technology is like is cool, but it's dated by our modern standards. So maybe
Yeah.
things didn't actually advance at the same rate as they've advanced in our existence. So I don't know. What do you think about that, especially kind of the racial dynamics?
I mean, that's an interesting take. You didn't come with that on your own. Just kidding.
No. I heard someone else make that analogy.
Yeah. I mean, it's very possible. I did find myself questioning, like, Mark S's car, because I was like, why is he driving this old ass car? And like, they really needed this for this project, and they're paying him a lot more money. Like, why is he still like? And same with I forgot her name already. You just said it.
Corbell.
But they're all just driving like these beaters for the most part. And it's also in like crazy weather conditions where they would need like a nicer car, you'd think, for driving purposes. But yeah, that's interesting. Because Kier is viewed as like a god, right? In this world.
Yeah, exactly.
By the severed people, or by like Lumen, or is it by everyone?
Well, they definitely seem way bigger than. I mean, strange times we're living in 2025 with tech billionaires at the White House, but
yeah,
they do seem more powerful and influential than just like the head of
like IBM
a tech
or something.
company.
Yeah.
So
okay.
there's that, and they are mythologized even more than our business leaders are mythologized. They're mythologized in like godlike religious ways.
But that Aldi's perspective, they don't view him that way usually.
Well, we don't know. I mean, that's the thing.
Like, his sister doesn't seem to like obviously care for, and the other people like don't want to hire severed people. So like,
those are some of the only Audis that aren't connected to Lumen that we've ever met.
Okay.
Like
okay,
so we have in the people that are trying like performing the procedure on Mark and Petey, who like we know they are desperately trying to uncover or get out of the control of Lumen, but we don't really know. The show just hasn't shown us a wider scope of what other people think about Lumen or think about
I didn't know if we
family.
met other people because I've only seen those like few interactions, but I guess that's all that's really happened.
Yeah, that's the show. I mean, season 1 largely took place in on the severed floor. I mean, we went out to Mark's apartment and we got a few glimpses. Season 2 already has opened things up quite a bit.
Interesting.
But then again, we don't, like you said, we don't even know where this ORTBO is taking place. It's in a remote forest, if it's even a real forest.
Right.
And so it's not like they're interacting with any new people. They're just interacting with Milkshake.
Each other and their clones.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, the reason I brought up the racial dynamics and like that theory is because of the scene you and I texted about in episode 3, where Milchick, I'll use his real name for once.
Oh, with Natalie?
Yeah. So he gets... tell us about the gift that he gets presented.
Well, okay, I'm kind of confused about it because I feel like... Because she said they've done it before for her. So my understanding, which I could be very wrong, are they just, like, painting him in historic moments that have already existed and, like, making him part of the family by, like, giving him these, like, beautiful paintings of himself in place of people that, like, instead of being Kier, it's Milchick?
Yeah, they've basically blackfaced
Okay,
Kier.
that's what I thought, but I was like, am I reading this correctly?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it's really fucked up and disturbing visually, and
because
he
even seems like taken aback from it, and I was like, oh, because I didn't know. I was like, this seems really messed up, but I didn't know. I was like, is this normal for? Okay, got
it's
it.
normal for.
Well, I didn't know if the show was like, hey, every time someone gets me, and then she was like, I got the same gift, and I was like, what's happening?
Yeah, so it's interesting because Miss Corbell is white and she was in that position before, so it's not exclusively a way of kind of like promoting but controlling black people. But Natalie is our liaison to the board, and people also have theories about the board because we've never seen them. So
okay, that was
they just exist as a disembodied voice. And, well, we don't even hear their voice, right?
No.
We just hear it, she just relays what they say, supposedly. But yeah, so Natalie is, like, gritting through her smile when when the board hangs up and she's explaining that she had the same gift. And you can tell both of them feel really conflicted or powerless
uncomfortable.
Whatever about the power dynamics between them and the board, and the racial overtones are 100%. Clearly there.
Well, because when you mentioned the racial overtones before, and then you're like, oh, the conversation. I didn't realize, like, I knew the painting thing was really uncomfortable, but I didn't know what it was talking about, and so I was like, wait, did they just paint him over these scenes with, like, white people? But I wasn't sure. I wasn't, like, 100% positive. But I knew that he was uncomfortable, and that was the first time I saw him, like, really uncomfortable. And she was also, like, smiling too long, like, accept the gift,
Yeah, so. And what people are... The reason it would be helpful to have more access to people that are outside of the Lumen world and don't work for Lumen, it's like half cult, half company, or, maybe more than half. And they are like, Milchick seems pretty bought into the cult, but then something like that happens that takes it to another extreme, and like, it's way beyond a job. I mean, way beyond the normal requirements of a job, and obviously getting severed and changing your brain chemistry or operating on your brain is more than any normal job would require. So this company is asking people to sacrifice huge parts of their life and independence to join the mission. And why exactly? Just because it's high powered, or is this the only way for someone like Natalie and Milchick, being black, to advance in society? I mean, like, we don't know because so that's why I think that was an interesting theory. Then they're just enslaved in a new way, Okay, well, let's talk about the goats then.
Okay.
What's up with the goats? What's going on in this goat room?
Goat world.
You can explain it all, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. They they crawl. It's like such a comical scene. But they decide to crawl through this hallway that's obviously the size just for goats. There's like poop on the floor and stuff, and they enter this giant field, like rolling hills, and there's just goats everywhere, and goat people, and a person dressed as a goat that's like blending in, which is so scary.
The tall woman is from Game of Thrones too, but
I recognized her. Yeah. I've seen like 3 episodes of Game of Thrones, and she sticks out. So But she was incredible. But yeah, so there's like these goat people that are taking care of the goats, but the goats are clearly like humans to them. Like they're little humans that they protect.
And are these people just dressed like goats, or are they goats? Or are being part goat? I mean, obviously they look mostly human.
Yeah, they're a little odd. So I would say some of them are goat humans, and some of them are just goats, and some of them are just humans.
Okay, so do you think, and this is where the belly button, show us your stomachs thing comes into play,
Yeah.
is Lumen genetically modifying, creating these animal human hybrids? Like, is
For
that
sure.
what we're supposed to, I mean, that's the obvious.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
why? I don't have an answer to this.
Yeah, I don't know yet, but I don't know. Show us your bellies. That's all.
Yeah. This is an interesting scene for a lot of reasons. It's just weird and really interesting, like as a part of a office building.
Yeah.
But yeah, it starts to. This is where some people think the show just is doing weird for the sake of weird, because like. It's hard to imagine how this is going to pay off, other than just that they're doing experiments on people in general. They're creating clones. So at the same time, I guess, why not create human-animal hybrids if you're going to try to bring back, dead people, or create people in perpetuity, the perpetuity wing, made literal. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? Do you enjoy these kind of ridiculous mysteries?
Yes.
Or okay, yeah.
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 I think they're just really fun. Like, they're uncomfortable again, but they're really funny.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like so wild. Like, you just don't know what's gonna happen. I feel like I do need to watch the first season. I will at some point, but I think for me, if they were just stuck in like running around this like that severed floor the whole time, I don't know if I'd be enjoyed as much. Maybe I will once I watch the first season. But I like all these different like excursions and outside world viewings and stuff, and goat people potentially.
Yeah, and I imagine because it's so goat centric, it's not like a range of different animals. There's got to be some explanation, specific to why it's goats, but I don't think we have any real clue as to what that is.
Maybe they're just taking all their goat milk and using it for something. Just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I love goat milk. It's my favorite milk.
I've heard it's a really good milk for you, so
Oh, good, nice. I'd love to have actual goats or goat people. That might be easier if they can just milk themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
For me. So maybe that's what they're doing. We didn't really get any new clues into Cold Harbor.
No.
But I do have my own theory that I haven't really read. It's pretty obvious, but do you want to hear that?
Sure.
So basically, Cold Harbor would be you kidnap or kill someone's wife and then have them try to recreate her like a man possessed. People know, so the woman that does the operation on Mark knows
the goat people.
Knows his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she says that last time I saw her, she was alive. We also might question what she's telling Mark because she has her own motives. But regardless,
I don't think so. But also the goat people all know her too.
Yeah. Okay. So people know his wife. We know that Mark is really good at his job. And so, and maybe Lumen hasn't done this a ton of times. They just chose one person that has a very strong, one person to use as an experiment. So they kidnap or kill their wife. And then that encourages them to sever whatever they had to do to make that happen. I mean, it sounds like he did it willingly, but he did it willingly because of his grief.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was...
They needed him to feel grief to want to be severed so that they could use him for their whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if that's that predictable that would be his response to it, but let's just say it is, and that was their plan. And then he severed like they wanted, and now he's helping them refine this data because he has this personal motivation and connection to the project, which if they can make it successful for her, they can theoretically apply it to other people.
What if, which that could happen. I mean, possibilities are endless, but
yeah,
I was thinking while you're talking about it, what if he's been like severed or something similar to severed before? Or some like maybe
Resevered?
he's like this wild like mathematician or like crazy genius and he was like some type of severed, but it didn't go the way they wanted it to. So then they had to kill his wife to resever him to bring him back into the world that he had started before.
Okay. Now you're almost getting into dark matter territory.
No, not yet.
Well, but basically alternate versions
Yeah.
of him, of Mark S. There
Like
was
they
Mark,
need him for something.
there's Mark
He had
B,
already started
Mark,
the project before, but then he like,
Mark
left the
F.
project and they killed his wife or took his wife so that he'd join back in.
Yeah. What if the letters, because they always, everyone is like first name, first initial. That's how many marks there have been. Mark A, Mark B,
Oh,
Mark
that's
C.
cool.
Yeah. Dylan, is it Dylan R?
I don't know.
Irving G.
Well, Helly's
Helly
the wrong
R.
letter. Is it weird that she's not her last name, her real last name?
Not if this theory is true.
Okay.
It doesn't need to be your last name if it's just a placeholder for numbers.
Yeah. That's a lot of marks.
Yeah, exactly. So
And when they get to Z, they start over so it'd be an infinite supply. I'm just kidding.
yeah, maybe. I mean,
Mark
maybe
with
they're
a Z, Mark with a K.
Yeah, then you turn into a goat.
That's an interesting theory. I like that.
Yeah. One thing that's really cool. I heard somebody point out in episode 3. This is before Mark is reintegrated. He goes to the goat place and is basically like feeling grass and stuff for the first time. Like they've never been outside, but he doesn't really dwell on it as much as this one, viewer was expecting. But episode 4, he's already reintegrated, so he has experienced outside. But Dylan is like, he does have that moment of like, this is what outside is like for the first time. It's crazy. I don't actually think the show, because they're in such a crazy foreign landscape and they're confused, they don't really have like a pure reaction to it for the most part. But what would you, can you put yourself in their shoes and imagine like being outside for the first time?
No. I think I would just like explode. I don't know. It's like such a wild thought to even be like, oh, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Dylan meeting his wife, by the way, was like pretty. That was a pretty hard scene.
Yeah. What did you think of that? So that was episode 3. We skipped over that. He gets this reward / tool that they're using to manipulate him and draw further draw the team apart, which happens to perfection during the team building exercise. Ironically, they're completely destroyed. But what did you think of that encounter with? So any Dylan gets to meet his outie wife, who he's never met before.
Yeah.
But she knows. But she's meeting like the person that looks exactly like that is her husband, but he doesn't know her.
It's heartbreaking.
Trippy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and when they show the photo, and he's like, "Wait, do we live on like a farm or a ranch?" And it's like an old time like Western one he's taking us like a fake saloon. It's like, oh man, I don't know. I just felt really bad for him and his wife, and I don't know if this like existed in the real world. If I, as his wife, would want to meet the one that doesn't even know anything about. I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, she seems up for it in a lot of ways, and also her home life has lost, the spark and the romance. So she might be like, she's drawn to what she sees in any Dylan because he is not like beaten down by their.
Yeah, he has a job and he doesn't have children.
It's a really cool scene because we learn more about outie Dylan, but through her perspective, and she's very like, it is a sad scene because she loves her husband, but clearly stuff has changed over the course of their life and marriage that's kind of defeated him and worn him down, and now he's not necessarily the person she loved originally anymore.
Why does outie Dylan need a job if any Dylan has one?
So they have a job. I mean, his job is working for Lumen. It's
Right.
just they're the
But
same
they,
person.
no, I know, but they show him as like this like lazy, like sitting on the couch with love, but he's worked all day.
Yeah. No,
He's just
it's. I think he's just kind of checked. He's just kind of checked out.
checked
I
out.
mean,
Okay.
it's not like he's pathetic. He's. I mean, he's just like not a very exciting person to be around.
Yeah. And this other guy
And
is
they
like
also
shiny.
work opposite schedules. It seems she's going to work at night, so
Yeah.
they
And Innie
they
is
don't
like
really see each other.
the excited Dylan that she had at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean,
Got
he's
it.
got a great sense of humor. He's like he's probably a good dad on the outside
Yeah.
world, but not exactly the most stimulated, partner. So
He says "What the fuck" the best I've ever, the best delivery every time throughout episode 4.
yeah,
They just turn to him and every time he's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
It's so funny.
yeah, he's awesome. Let's talk before we talk about the end of episode 4. I gave you a prompt that I wrote down on my own, and then I heard discussed on another Severance podcast. I didn't listen to anything before our first discussion, but now I figured for this deep dive episode, I'd listen to some commentary and stuff. And they had the same question that popped into my mind of what would you sever from other than your work life? So did you have any interesting answers for that?
I went back and forth. So originally I was like, oh, I could sever myself from like dentist appointments and like if I get hurt and like surgery, like anything that's like painful.
Yeah.
But then I was really conflicted because then every time something painful happens to you, it changes you, right? And so like I don't want to not be changed by something that happens to me.
Yeah.
So then I chose not to sever anything.
Okay. And that's probably the theme of the show, or one of the kind of morals or lessons of the show is, taken to this extreme. A work-life balance is not good. Parenting, obviously you're a new parent. You don't want to sever from that. But it's like, I think it's more meaningful, obviously, if it's a big chunk of your life. Yeah, sure, you could sever from having to drive to work,
Right.
or like something that is just a chore, having to mow the lawn. But like,
even that, it just feels like then you're not living your life. So,
Yeah.
You know.
yeah, I mean, I think like, so you play volleyball a lot. You obviously love it, but imagine like a pro athlete, like LeBron James. Like sometimes they kind of describe playing, or a football player, they like turn into a different person to play the game. They can't be like a nice, family person when they're trying to kill someone on the football field, or a boxer.
Right.
So maybe it would be like in that circumstance, it would
Like an
potentially be
extreme.
healthy to have like a full break from your other personality.
Maybe Mark S.'s severed self killed his wife.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's trying to bring her back because he feels guilty about it.
Yeah, or they made, if Lumen really, if that was their master plan, then they framed him. I mean, they made him think he did.
Yeah.
Because that would ensure that he takes this, I mean, in TV show logic, I could easily see them orchestrating her death, orchestrating it so that he felt directly responsible, or maybe literally responsible, and then someone conveniently showing up and offering him the severance opportunity when he's at his most vulnerable. And so that's a pretty believable setup. Like, in real life, it probably wouldn't be that clean, but,
Right. Wait.
in fictional.
Would you sever yourself from anything? You didn't answer the question.
No, I mean, well, realistically, I can't think of anything that, like you said, that doesn't enrich my life. I mean, things that I'm trying to put like a different spin on it. Like, if I could become a different person when I'm swimming or working out and work out harder, that would be.
Oh, yeah. Like you would, yeah. Okay.
Or like when we're podcasting, I could be a whole different podcast persona, although maybe that would defeat the purpose.
Yeah.
But okay, like say you're an actor. Maybe this is the metaphor, since these are all actors. They're basically going into they're severing to become a character. Method acting is the word I was looking for. The most extreme version of like detaching yourself from the performance. So no, I couldn't. Maybe that's why it wasn't a great prompt on the other podcast I listened to, because they didn't have great answers either.
Yeah. It's a hard question, but no thanks.
Let's see.
The book?
Okay. The last number topic I have, number 8, is Irving. Is this it?
The book?
Oh, well, okay. We're going to save your book report for last, but is this it for Irving?
It seems like it is, but I don't think it is.
Well, what happens at the end of episode 4?
He tries to drown Heliar, but not really. He tries to just basically get the outie heli out and the innie heli back by putting him at risk.
Irving, 1, figures it out probably too easily, and 2, is way too confident that this is going to work, like that's even possible.
It worked though.
It did work. He was right, but I didn't really. Maybe I'm not as smart as Irving, but I didn't really know what he was doing in the moment, and that there was going to be like that they could just bring Heli back like that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure either. I thought he might have killed her or might kill her. Well, then I was like, well, that's interesting, but he didn't. He just brought back the old innie Heli, which is cool. But I think Irving. I mean, it seems like Milchick was pretty strict about him just basically not existing anymore. But does that mean his outie still exists and his innie's just erased, right?
Yeah, I mean, unless they kill him, he's just going to go back to like his other life. Like basically, they all got fired except for Mark in episode 1, and that just meant they weren't going to ever see Mark again, unless they encountered him on the outside, which they could. But in this case, he's just doesn't work for Lumen anymore and doesn't have any reason to see these characters, and he definitely doesn't have any reason to see the innie version of these characters. Because even if he did encounter them on the outside, it wouldn't be Mark S. It would be sad, emo Mark. Yeah.
But I think he'll be back. I don't think he's the last to see of Irving. If that was
that was my question. I mean, I don't know whether he would have to break in. He knows about the export.
I think he's gonna, because he saw his paintings and stuff at his house.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's gonna something's gonna trigger him again to be like, wait, why was I painting this? And something's gonna happen, or that woman's gonna find him and reintegrate him. Or something's gonna. Yeah,
I mean, well, the other thing too is Mark is integrated now, so he would know to go look for Irving potentially. We haven't seen any of real, like I said, keep mentioning, we haven't really seen any of the ramifications of Mark being integrated because of the craziness of episode 4, the setting of episode 4. Mark also sleeps with Helena, not Heli.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
And he didn't like that either, based on his reaction when this whole drama is going down with Irving. You can see in his face that he feels deceived.
And panicked because he's like, wait, that's not the right person. Yeah.
I think the jump of logic that probably had the most trouble with for Irving was that he knew she was an Egan.
I don't know where that came from.
Well, he's like... He deduced that that's the only way she would have access to the technology.
She's so higher up. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a pretty big leap. So anyway, he basically forces them to flip a switch to turn her back into Heli. So now Heli really is back. The Heli that we know from the innie world. Mark is both Marks. Dylan is just Dylan, but he's getting a taste of his out. Like everyone is sort of merging more with the outside world, and obviously that's where the show is going. Is kind of like upending the gap between basically removing the sever to varying degrees. So what does the you in you think about you?
Okay, so I couldn't get through more than 10 minutes of that.
Well, it's meant to be a parody of like a self-help enlightenment
Oh,
book,
I get it. It's just hard to listen to.
but it's not really funny. Or it's
No, it reminded me of like Between Two Ferns, but I like Between Two Ferns.
right. And
So,
is it the actor reading it, I'm guessing?
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
wasn't into it.
Well, that's
Sorry, I tried. I did. I got through the intro. I got into like maybe halfway through chapter 1, and then I couldn't do it anymore.
I wanted you to listen to it, or I wanted to listen to it myself because I was wondering, like, everyone's a little skeptical of self-help information, but sometimes when you start reading it, or you start reading like a business book or something that you're skeptical of, it actually resonates.
Yeah.
So I knew you were going to go in rightfully skeptical because it's a mockery of something
Right.
that's already mockable.
Yes.
But I thought maybe it was going to come full circle
No.
back to it being kind of enlightening.
Nope. Was it for you? Hopefully.
I didn't read any of it.
You did it?
Well, no, I wanted to be surprised by your reaction. So I was going to read it if you didn't.
Oh, I see.
But
So I
since
was
you-
doing homework, but I didn't have to because I could have just not done it, and then you wouldn't have done it.
Well, yeah, I thought it'd be more fun.
So you tricked me.
For only one of us to do it. Yeah. And that
Well, I
was
didn't
you.
make it very far, so you
Yeah.
can listen to it if you want to, but I couldn't handle his voice and the premise and just the whole concept. I just wasn't into it.
Yeah, they read like excerpts from it in
Yeah.
maybe so far in this season, but definitely in season 1 because Mark S is reading it, and that's sort of one of his gateways in season 1 to the outside world. You know, like I said, if that's the only book you've ever read, it
Yeah.
would be. So if you could have severed from all past book reading, maybe you would have been a little more impressed.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, we can't arrange that.
I could
for
read
the
that book
podcast.
and go outside for the first time, just put it in a hole.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay, well that was quick.
Sorry.
That's pretty much all I have. What else? What other questions or anything did you have that we didn't get to?
I had a whole list, but I think we answered most of them. Well, one of them was, which we talked about the name thing, and I like your theory, because Helly R is the only one that the name's not, but they could be different names. The last names could be different anyway.
I guess do we know everyone's last name in the outside world? I mean,
I don't
know
know.
Mark's actually starts with an S or not? I mean, because that would probably debunk the theory.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Can there be a permanent, any that doesn't ever be an outie?
No, well, not that we know of.
What about that little girl?
So, the little girl, that's another open
She could be a
question.
creation that they just made in-house, and that's why she's they just made whatever they wanted, and she'll never leave.
I think we're led to understand or believe that Milchick, the little girl, Natalie, everyone that is a non-severed employee of Lumen goes to the severed floor, but doesn't have the switch flip in their head. So they're outie when they're innie.
Okay.
But when they're on the severed floor. So you can go to the severed floor if you have access as an outie, which is exactly what Helena's doing. Is it Helena?
I don't know.
But yeah, so she's just going in and not having the switch flip in this season. In season 1, she was flipping to Helly. So yeah, a good question, but I'm not sure we've ever seen that be the case. Although the goat people, we get the impression, well, that they've been there longer than Mark and them probably, and we don't know how long they've been doing whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
And whether they get to go up to the real world or not, or whether they have outie lives. They probably don't,
not.
would be my guess, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that sort of answers your question.
Okay. I just didn't know. I was like, people stay
If
there.
you're a goat, you can be an innie full time.
Okay. Part goat,
Yeah.
full goat, any type of goat.
Yep.
And then some of the words they use, is this like a made up language at some points, or are they just using crazy? They have some really weird terms in the way they speak.
Yeah, that leads to the theories of like basically just what alternate history and world are we in, that the Egans have sort of popularized this old timey, like I heard someone compare it to like Dr. Seuss talk.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fetid moppet and things like that are maybe like Latin adjacent.
Okay.
So
just
just an old timey language. And have you seen the movie Dogtooth?
No.
Basically, it's this Greek. It was the breakout movie for Yorgos Lanthimos, the Greek director, and it's in Greek, but this family keeps their kids completely isolated and just changes the meaning of language and meaning of everyday objects for them, but just kind of creates their own world and their own logic, so that when they leave, if they leave, they're completely alienated from the rest of society, and they think like a pool float is an alligator. And
that's so sad.
It's fucked up. I mean, like,
I'm not gonna watch that.
Well, it's totally compatible with this type of humor. I mean, all of his movies, The Lobster, Killing of the Sacred Deer.
Yeah, those are okay. I mean, those are really good movies. But
they're funny, but fucked up, which is the sweet spot. So I guess the plan is, since we're wrapping up here, that we're going to talk about Severance again at the end of the season, I'd say, but we're going to switch next week to White Lotus season 3.
Yes.
You're excited for that?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Can't wait.
Yeah, more just dark humor. I mean, like, these shows are all in my favorite, or all in my sweet spot of drama that you care enough about, mixed with like pitch black humor.
When it's really hard, I feel like it's really hard to do and do well. So White Lotus 3 is gonna be awesome. Although no Jennifer Coolidge, which is a bummer, but makes sense. The woman who is like works in the wellness center, the massage clinic, looks like she's recurring. Oh, you haven't even watched the trailer. There will be at least one returning character. Sorry to spoil it for you. Cool. Yeah, I'm not trying to. I don't want to know who's in it.
Yeah. But for the most part, it's kind of like an anthology show that just starts fresh in a new location with a new cast each year. But Jennifer Coolidge, was the through line for the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. So, White Lotus season 3 is going to be our next episode. I should also mention that these 2 episodes of Severance that we talked about were Ben Stiller was back to directing them. So I think he directed episode 1, 3, and 4. He's not directing all of them, but these were really, especially 4. Like 4 was a whole new type of episode that we've ever seen. Yeah. So new location, completely outside. I had heard before before I watched it, that this was going to be like a special episode. So the timing worked out good for us to discuss these 2, I think. Yeah,
for sure. The half woman. And kind of felt Lord of the Rings for a second when they're going on their quest.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thank you for listening and or watching New Release. You can subscribe by searching New Release on Spotify or Apple. What were you pointing?
You know how people are like, subscribe here, but like that.
Oh yeah. If I put the thing there, it will. And our Instagram popping off with 1 to 3 likes per post of cover art for each episode. I'm going to do new artwork for this episode. Find some goat and ORTBO related imagery.
What's our Instagram?
New Release Podcast on Instagram. So follow that. And Ashley?
That's a new world.